And welcome to another exciting adventure on Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's guest is a guest who was originally on another show of mine, and we have a lot of fun. And so I am so excited to be bringing her back on and introducing her to this show. And so I am so blessed to say you all are in for a huge treat because we talk all the time and we are so gonna have a fun show. And she just dropped out, and so we're hoping we can get all of this techie stuff working and everything up in order. And so without further ado, I give you the one, the only laughter extraordinaire, Nikki Girard.
Hello, and can you hear me okay
I
before I
can.
begin? Perfect. So, hello, my name is Nikki Girard. I'm an entrepreneur, manifestation expert, award winning, and I've also got #1 international bestsellers out there because I need to put the message out to help people rise. So, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show today. And I'm so thrilled to discuss the topics today. And I don't want to talk a lot about me at the moment, so I'm going to throw it right back at you. You want to ask me more? Go ahead. But otherwise, I don't need to talk about me. We're here to help the people. So let's get this show on the road.
I agree. And so, one of the things that I think is kind of interesting that some people may not, be aware of are signals and systems that we have in our lives. And so, I'm kind of curious, what's your thoughts around that?
Well, one of the things about synchronicity is that it's life's subtle nods, right? So, exploring the meaningful coincidences, that aren't random. They may seem random, but when we're in more awareness and in tune with our intuition, we can recognize them being awareness that they are signals to help us, to guide us on our path. And so, they're not accidents, they're alignment markers. And so it comes back to that intuition, the quiet intelligence beneath everything, right? So a lot of people think it's mystical or woo woo, but really what it is, it's the pattern of recognition, like the pattern recognition running beneath our conscious awareness. So, for example, right, like our brains are constantly processing data, right? We don't consciously always register it, but we can talk about, how, life drowns out, like when life can drown out different, aspects and bring in a lot of that noise. And so it's about learning how to retune ourselves and be in alignment, not just with our energy, but also with our nervous system and our internal intuition. Because a lot of people think have you ever had the experience where you have that gut feeling? You just had a knowing of something, and then down the road you realize that your intuition, your gut feeling was correct. Have you ever
Oh,
had that?
many a times.
Right. And we've talked, so I know that's true, but I'm just saying, right? Just generally speaking, and I know everyone in the audience, every single person, without question, has had a moment in time where they just felt something like they just knew it, but didn't understand how they knew it. And in that moment, they were tapping into that deep intuition because there's that intelligence, right? So when we talk about the unseen architecture of reality, from the fractal nature of the algorithm shaping our digital lives, invisible systems governing everything. So pulling back the curtain, revealing the quiet order beneath all the apparent chaos that we kind of see on the outward, like outwardly, and learning to be able to get back to center inwardly. And so, does that make sense a little bit
It
without
does,
diving
and
deep into it yet?
it does. And one thing I
Just a
would
little
say,
curiosity, maybe.
yeah, and one of the things that I think is interesting, and I'm just going to side note for a second here, is
Sure.
lately I've been hearing about keeping our vibrations high, keeping our energies high, and
Yep.
one of the ways to do that is through laughter. And I know from, like we talk and everything, but one of the things that I think
Sorry, I'm just thinking of the messages I leave where I'm just laughing.
exactly is you spread laughter, and by spreading that laughter, people who are hearing it, you're thinking, wow, this person's thinking, why is this person laughing? When I hear it, I just start laughing, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because she's laughing. And so it's like you're doing a service to humanity by, sending the laughter messages, because it starts to get people laughing, and it helps.
Laughter is contagious.
It
Laughter is
is.
contagious. And people that I work with, and, just people that I connect with and everything, like, as you know, sometimes I'm just in the gigglies and I will just leave laughter voice messages for people.
Oh,
I'll
she
go down the
does.
list of everybody and go, okay, who would like some laughter? And usually it brings tears to people's eyes. They're like, man, I had to get a box of Kleenex or something like that. And it's just, you know, being in high vibration is so important, because when we're in a higher frequency, we can create a higher baseline frequency for ourselves. So if we practice the act of being in higher frequency, then our baseline frequency will continue to elevate higher. If we're in a lower vibration frequency, then we attract lower vibration people, opportunities, situations, right? If we're in a higher vibration, we're in a higher awareness as well. And so we attract that higher vibration energy of opportunities, people that would help connect us to the next step and think, you know what I mean? So it's like, just think of low vibration, not so good for us. High vibration, way better for us.
It is,
And
and
laughter is one of those things, right? Just like if we go
right.
into nature or listen to our favorite songs that make us want to move our booty, right? Things like that increase our vibration. And the more often we do it or get into creative mode, paint, draw, journal, be in nature, dance, listen to music, be in stillness, just have quiet and just allow your thoughts to roam and just be in the present moment. All of these things are simple little things we can do, but when we practice at least a few times a day, a few of these things, just for a few minutes, it actually will help to increase our baseline frequency and elevate it. Does that make sense?
It does. And one thing I will add too is, I find a lot of times after, talking with you where, we're both laughing over something, I will sit down and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh wait, I understand this now. It's like it brings clarity to things, because like you're saying, the energy has gone up. And so a side effect of it is, things that you've been like trying to figure out actually become somewhat clear. And you're like, oh, yeah, I can do it this way, or I can do it this way. And I think it's amazing that the simple act of, laughing maybe for 30 seconds to a minute a day can bring huge amount of clarity and awareness and change to your world that
Can you hear me?
it's like, why not? So yeah, I can hear you. I think we're having phone issues again. Can you hear me now? Hello? Oh, I love doing live shows for moments like this.
Oh, my apologies. Can you hear me okay now?
I can.
Okay, sorry. My system booted me out there. So, can you maybe repeat the last sentence or two that you said, and I'll jump in?
Oh, I was just stating that it's amazing to me, like 30 seconds or a minute of laughter a day can bring a huge amount of clarity and awareness and change to your environment and world. And it's such a simple little act.
Yeah, and the thing is that think of like when we're in gratitude, we feel joy, we feel peace, we have laughter, we have a moment in nature that makes us feel just content. That increases our vibration. And yes, when our vibration increases, that opens our awareness and gives us more clarity, right? We're in lower vibrations. We're overloaded with old programming and self-doubt and things like that. The more we can be in the present moment and in a high vibration, we naturally have better clarity. We naturally feel more intuitive. When we can be in the present moment, we're like tapped in more just naturally. And then if we're doing some of those things that we were talking about earlier, just to increase our vibration, move the body, move the energy, that every day will help to increase that vibration, so it becomes more like becomes easier and easier. So to get into what I call the flow state sweet spot, whenever you choose to, it's much easier because you can put on a song, you can listen, to someone laughing, you can remember or be in gratitude of something. And the more often you do it, your nervous system and your subconscious mind gets accustomed to that, and it becomes a habit of behavior. So without even thinking about it, as soon as you think or feel that you want to increase your vibration, you'll just naturally go to that song or go to something that makes you feel that gratitude or have that image or have that feeling and emotion. Does that make sense?
It does, because I've noticed if I'm in a mood of needing to charge up energy, if I put music on that has bass, it's like by the time I arrive, I'm like, oh, I can feel like if I could visualize it, it'd be like the energy is sparking off of me. I have so
E-
much.
Exactly. Exactly. And, and that's why sometimes people think that they have to listen to a certain type of music, right? And that's not the case. Of course, classical music and everything has, the way the tones and beats are, like I'm not going to get into all the musical part, but there is, advantage to that just because of the natural way that they've put the music together. But generally speaking, if the music makes you move, it touches your heart, gives you the emotion of like, wow, and any feeling that makes you feel good. It doesn't matter what type of music it is. It could be rap music, it could be classical music, it could be Spanish, Italian, French, it could be pop rock. It doesn't matter. If it makes you want to move your butt, then put that song on. And that's all that matters, because it's every person's individual in their own energy, right? And so tones and beats, depending on, what feels right for you. And like I said, it could be country music, it could be rock and roll. And
Right.
if that
And
song makes you move and puts you in a high vibe and just makes you want to move your butt, that's a good song to put on when you want to increase your vibe.
It is, and I will say, I'm not one for usually being on social media, but on Instagram, and I'm not sure if they're on TikTok, but I know they're on Instagram. There's a DJ, and he's taken a lot of classical music and kind of put a little like upgrade to it, not like rewriting it and everything, but like one thing he does is like the song Phantom of the Opera theme and
Oh, yeah.
Carmina Fortuna. Those are both powerful songs. He mashes them together, and it's like you hear it and you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it's like you get chills listening to it. And I'm like, this is brilliant because it's like, wow, you got two powerhouses meshed together perfectly. It's like, wow. Or he'll take Vivaldi and put a little techno beat to it. And it's like, you're listening to this and going, oh my God, if this was like the classical music when I was in grade school and having to learn this, I would have
You'd have
been
been on
like,
that.
yeah, I would have been like, classical music rocks.
Yeah, right? You know
But
what? I'm going to get you to commit to sending me that mashed version of the two together. You have to send me a link later because that sounds amazing. I can't wait to hear it.
yeah, and they do a few mashups here and there, and he'll even do it with the live orchestra. He'll have a live orchestra performing, and he'll
Oh,
stand there
beautiful.
doing it, and that's like, dude, this is so awesome. And it's like, wow, and the world we're living in to where, creativity is not being quashed like it was when we were growing up. Like if we were growing up and we were to say, hey, we're going to put these two songs together, the music teachers would be like, no, these are, you don't mix this song with this song. They're not, you don't
These are
mix
greats
songs.
on their own. You don't mix them. That's not what we're doing here in music class, son.
Right. And so now we're being encouraged to do it. And it's like, it's bringing in a revitalization to
Diversify.
music.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
so, I mean,
that's the thing.
yeah, it's, and I think
And when you
encouragement
think
goes a
about it,
long
right? We're
way.
like, yeah. And when you think about like our topic today, right? Part of it is about mapping the hidden patterns that shape our lives, right? And
Right.
so when you think about it, most people think that life is random chaos, but when we slow down enough to observe, the patterns begin to emerge, right? Because we become more aware, and then we're able to notice those thought patterns, those behavioral patterns, the emotional patterns of the way that our nervous system is reacting, right? So that way we
Yeah.
can be more observant of the internal systems that are signaling us different things and our intuition, so we can slow, pardon me, and pay
You
less
cut out
attention
at
to the
slow.
outward noise.
Yeah.
Pardon me. We begin to learn how to tap into our intuition better. And because a lot of times the problem is in modern life, right? The way that modern life and the conditions are, it kind of like teaches people to be disconnected from themselves and others. And so it's about slowing things down and getting to calibrate and understanding ourselves on that deeper level and be able to tap into our natural abilities and to be able to expand the abilities that we do have, like what we're talking about, in able to, be able to raise our vibration and change our patterns of behavior and subconscious programs to help aid in that vibration alignment as well in moving forward, if that makes
It
sense.
it does, and I mean, one thing that I'll say that's kind of comical between you and I when we're talking offline is we have a joke between us, and it was off of something that I had said, and she'll start laughing about it, and then she'll like send me a message like 2 minutes later. I'm still laughing about it.
I'm not
then,
hearing
like,
you just
the
at
next
the moment.
But and then in the next, the next day, she's like, "I'm still laughing over the fact of what you said." So we kind of go back and forth with it, but it's a matter of 4 words, and so it doesn't take a lot to do it. And so I'm hoping she'll be coming back on soon to where she can hear me before I say what
Okay,
those
I just
4
got
words
back
are.
on. My apologies.
So I was telling everyone
Sorry,
how
say that
you and
again.
I was saying to everyone how you and I, it's like
to repeat. Oh,
that I said to you 4 words one day and you were laughing all day and the next day over those 4 words. And so I was saying to people, it doesn't take a lot to
I've been
set the
laughing at those
mode.
same 4 words for months. Like, see, now I'm thinking about it. It's just making me laugh because you can tell them what it is. It's the funniest thing. And to anybody else, it may not mean anything, but it just sounded funny to me.
Yeah. So I'll
can
set the
share.
story up. Yeah, I'm going to,
Okay.
but I'll set it up to where she was like, you haven't said anything really to me in a couple of days that's funny. And I said, oh, really? And we were kind of just like teasing each other about it and everything. And so I was like, I just had this random thought pop in my head, and I was like, oh, I'm okay. How can I do this? And I was like, ooh, let's do it this way. And so I sent her a message, and it was so simple. It was so simplistic. And I go, booyah to the mooyah. And she just was like, oh my God, this is epic. I'll be laughing about this for months. And I mean, it's like a simple act like that of, it doesn't have to be an elaborate, like, well thought out. And I even was teasing her before we came online. I go to her as a joke. I said, I have a question. If Booyah and Mooyah met at a grocery store and started a relationship and had a kid, what would the name be? And she sat there and was like, oh my God, I don't know. But she started laughing and going, oh, the name would be funny. And I was like, I don't know the name either. And I was laughing
And we were
about it.
like
I was like,
13 minutes from going live. And I'm like, why are you asking me this now? You're going to make me laugh.
but I mean, so when we say like simple acts of kindness.
I know the answer. Baby booyah mooyah.
I think you got to work on that one.
That's why I say give me some time.
Because even I was thinking of if you mix the names, and I was like, the names are already mixed. There is no, you can't. It's like if you take the Boomoo, it's like that's about the only way you could do it. It's like
But
it
that's
doesn't
not
work.
as funny as the mooyah to the booyah.
I know. And so,
see, I can tell you a quick story. I get so giggly that when I was in grade 4 and 5, I had the same teacher. And I don't know what, but every once in a while, it doesn't even have to be anything funny. I would start laughing. And then just like I leave voice notes of me laughing. And same as here today. Um, and so I would start laughing about something, which would get my teacher laughing and my entire class laughing. And then eventually my teacher had to ask me to go into the hall and do my work so they could continue the class. But it would usually last about 40 minutes. And then I would come inside the classroom when I thought, okay, I think I can handle this, right? I can like keep the laughter down and everything. And I look up at my teacher, he looks at me, he smirks. And I'm like, why would you smirk? And I start laughing my butt off again. And all I say is, I don't think I'm ready. And I go back into the hallway. But so I've always been that way. But man, those 4 words, I don't know, that just made me laugh so much. Even thinking about it makes me laugh. So
Well, and I mean, and the amazing thing about it is we talk about like simple acts of kindness and how that ripples out and changes everything. I can tell you, there are times where I feel
yep,
like,
I call
oh,
that a rack. Random act of
yeah,
kindness.
yeah. And so whenever, I can tell when Nikki's feeling upset about something, I'll do one of two things. I'll either come up with a rendition of that and she's like, "Yeah, that's not as good," or "Oh, that's funny,"
That's
or
not as funny.
we'll
I was like,
have
that's
we
not
have
as
a
funny. And then I start laughing about the other version,
yeah.
which gets the high
And
vibration going anyway. So it all works.
yeah, and the other thing is, we have a joke about like, oh, we sent or like right now we're using an emoticon of popcorn, and she's like, "Oh, we're doing popcorn now," and I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, I only do mine with salt and butter." So I would get a little emoticon of salt and butter, or send like popcorn drizzling down, and she's like, "Oh my god!" But then she starts laughing about it, and it's just I don't even have to use words, and so when you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with friends, and they're hurting and they're upset or distracted, you can send like a simple image, and you got to do it at the right time. I mean, I'm not saying someone's at a funeral to send a party emoticon to lift their spirits up. Probably not going to get the reaction you're hoping for. But if somebody just is like, "Hey, I had a crappy day and this or that," send them like popcorn, or send them a falling from the sky, or send them spinning popcorn, and they're like, "Oh my," and or send them something that'll make them laugh, and that makes a huge difference.
See, I used to have a client that she really liked unicorns, like cartoon unicorns. Her energy, when I felt her energy off or she messages me something, I would send her like the unicorn and it would have different expressions, right? And that simple act, because we anchored it, right? It's just like if you think of, someone that you care about, or, a time in your life that you felt really happy, it's an anchor, it's an emotional anchor. So, yeah, like simple acts of kindness like that, like send an emoji with a smiley face, it brightens up people's day more than you realize. More than you realize. So, whenever in doubt, send a smiley face.
And yeah, and so we always we get stuck in our heads, I think, a little too much of
Can you hear me or did I
going,
zone out again?
I can hear you,
All
but
right.
I'm not sure you can hear me. But we get lost in our heads, I think, too
Oh,
much.
I'm
And
back.
when we get into our heads, we start analyzing and going, okay, what do I do? What do I need to do? And we start overthinking things. I'm a little guilty of this. And we end up missing a moment because we're too much in our heads, where you just simply take a step back and are like, what's needed in this moment? Silence? I can do that. Laughter? I can try. May not work, but hey, you at least have fun trying. And so your energy goes up, but we don't have to do elaborate anything like we used to think. Like we used to do certain breathing exercises to raise the energy, or meditate, or do these different practices, and because we were taught this was the only way, and now we're being taught cooking or laughter or getting up and doing jumping jacks or doing a dance, at your desk when no one's looking. All of these things raise your vibration. And so what I'm trying to get across to everyone is, let go of the pattern that you have of I can only raise my vibration if I do this, to expand it to other options, expand it to little acts of fun just for you. You don't have to get the whole office or the whole house, or your partner start laughing about it. If you're needing your energy raised, just do a little wiggle or something, and raise your own vibration, and they'll eventually catch on and go, hey, I'm kind of digging this new high vibe effect, and I want to give me some of that. And so you may find the next time you do a little wiggle, they do a little wiggle. And next thing you know is everybody's doing wiggles. And
the thing is, right, like our brains are wired for pattern recognition, right? So like as humans, right, we naturally seek meaning and patterns in our life, right? And then our reticular activating system, in our brain actually filters out different information based on and highlights what's most important, what matters to us, right? And that's based on the filters in which our subconscious programming is. So, for example, if we live in a fear based energy and mentality and emotions and thoughts and behaviors, reacting from that fear, okay, that's going to be when we're in that lower vibration with those type of emotions and thoughts. Remember I said like we would attract lower vibration people, opportunities and things like that, right? And so if the subconscious behavior and pattern is that lower vibration, then we need to work, like we talked about, raising that vibration, so that way our reticular activating system, which is kind of like the natural like survival mechanism within the mind to kind of look for things to avoid danger, okay, and highlight what actually matters to us. So if we're working from a state of fear, then we're going to be in that scarcity mode, that low vibration, and we're going to be looking for danger, as opposed to in high vibration we'd be looking for opportunities to move forward, because we're not coming from survival mode. We're coming from an elevated mode instead of like that survival. Does that make sense?
It does. And
because once something becomes emotionally important to us, we can begin seeing related signals everywhere, right? So if we're looking for danger, then we're going to notice everything moving. But if the filter is focused on opportunities for the manifestation we're working on, then we're going to notice it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of that new catchphrase term, like Neuro Transcendence.
Yep. I teach about that. Yep. I've written about it as well. And the thing is, is the more we're able to align within ourselves, who we truly are, being able to tap into our intuition, like in my solo book, the very first chapter is intuition, which is your natural internal GPS system. And so I go through all the information on how our intuition works, how we can work with our intuition, and how we can increase to be able to tap in deeper to our intuition. Because some people think that they don't have intuition, but everyone does. It's just the more we know ourselves and we're able to be in the present moment, in more alignment, in that higher vibration, we naturally will be able to tap into our intuition because we're able to be in that stillness in the present moment. So with that expectation of the future, we're in the present moment. And so the future unfolds as we're taking those, action steps towards what we're looking to do, whether it's a goal or a relationship or financial abundance, like regardless of what it is, it's all the same premise. So when we have the alignment within, then the reflection, which is just like a mirror from the universe. If we're sending out predominantly that higher vibration consistently, the universe will mirror that back to us, and we see it in that unfolding as we begin to see those different abundances come into our lives. And then we look back and go, whoa, look at that, we got everything we asked for. Does that make sense?
It does, and it kind of reminds me of a situation like when I was growing up. My dad would always say for a while, his mantra was, I want to have a lot of cash in my life to do what I need to do. Well, the universe, in its infinite wisdom, decided to teach him a lesson, and he ended up working for a guy named Cash. And it wasn't what he expected, and so and he learned a lot from it, but it also showed us, because we all looked at it and were like, what's going on in this situation, to go and say, yeah, I can't just blankly put something out there. I have to be clear what I'm looking for to send out in the universe, because the universe, will
Yes.
make what it thinks you want, because you're not clear. It'll say, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And so, to save yourself some time, you might, put a few extra words in there to clarify what your true intention is, because I had the mantra of, if something is meant for me to do, the means will be provided. And so far, every time I have an opportunity come up, and if it's in my highest, energy to do it, I have the means to do it. The means just arrive. And so it's like synchronistic perfection. And if the means aren't there, I'm like, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. And I will, find out later something happened there. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I wasn't there for that. And so the universe, can protect you in ways from yourself too, by being like, yeah, you need to be here, so we're going to make that happen, but you don't want to be in this, so we're not going to put you there.
Well, the thing is, the more that we're in alignment and synchronicity within ourselves, then the more we're going to be able to pick up those messages of when it is a time to step forward in that opportunity and when it's time to go, oh, it doesn't match my energy, and you go a different direction and take another opportunity, right? Because if like when we think about being in that lower vibration, right, and the reticular activating system kind of in that survival mode, think of it this way: survival mode narrows our awareness, right? And so
Right.
when our awareness is narrowed, right, think of like putting your head in the sand. Well, you're not going to see everything going on. And so that's when we kind of get stuck into old patterns of behavior with the programming in our mind. And so in survival mode, we'll default to what's familiar to us, not necessarily what we're saying we want consciously moving forward. Because if our conscious mind says, for example, I want this abundance in my life with my business, but the subconscious program says, no, we ain't doing that anytime soon. I don't have that program. I have the scarcity program. Then what's going to happen is the self-doubt comes in, the self-sabotage comes in, the hesitation comes in, the overwhelm comes in, the ping pong effect with the subconscious and the conscious mind. Because consciously we want something, but the subconscious is not caught up yet, right? We need to do that inner work to change those subconscious programs. And everything we've been talking about today is a way to do that. Raising that vibration increases our awareness naturally. And I always say to people, awareness is more than 50% of the solution to any problem that you have. Because without awareness, we're oblivious. With awareness, then we can use our free will to make a different choice within our emotion, how we're feeling, how we're thinking, and our behaviors. And if we stay consistent with those new behaviors, that becomes the new automatic pattern. Does that make sense?
It
So
does.
instead of defaulting to the old one, we're creating a new pattern towards who we're becoming, but we're doing it in the present moment, if that makes sense.
It does. And I have a question for you around that is, we have in our lives, we've been taught, like, anything with the word core, like core beliefs, core energy, core source, is unchangeable. It's already cast, it's done. It's, it's unlimited for you to tap into. But I noticed, there is a little bit like core beliefs are there, but sometimes they seem to be a little like, maybe not. And so I'm wondering, as we're going through life, it's like the the core, is it actually flexible, and do we need to go, like, with the new kind of trendy term right now being like quantum level, and go really deep to learn to change the core, or can it be done in easier, simpler ways?
Well, the way that you described it is the way that a lot of people see it, and it does make it seem really complicated, and it's not complicated. Now, the core values and those core belief systems that are in our subconscious, right? Which our subconscious is in control of about 95% of all our emotional responses or reactions, our thought processes, so how we think about things, and our behaviors. So, what hand do you brush your teeth with? What leg do you put into your pants first? Things like that. Even driving, riding a bike, all these things, once we've done it enough times, the subconscious just commits it to memory, and then we don't have to consciously think about how to drive home. You've driven home enough times that you could be thinking about some other topic and you still drive into your driveway and get out of your car and go, whoa, man, I got home fast. I wasn't even thinking about where I was going, but I made it home, right? And that's
Right.
because it's been created as a program. Now, the core values and beliefs that we have are normally formed by the time we're about 5 years old. Okay. So when you think about society and our family and things like that, like, for example, if your mother and father yelled at each other all the time, right? Then that would become part of that framework, because when we're young, we don't actually have a filter, a conscious filter. We don't get to that conscious awareness until between about 9 to 12 years old. But our mind is like a sponge from the time we're born up to about 5 to 7 years old. So whatever information goes in, so whatever your parents believed and they told you this is how things are and this is how you make money and this is how, like, so all these things that you learn through marketing, family, friends, religion, society, the norms, the way everything was meant to be, that is the filter in which we see things. So this whole, like, idea of the world right now where everybody's like comparing themselves to each other, and we got to follow the trends and all these things, and if we're not like that, we don't fit in. And so whatever was kind of instilled, right? So for example, like, let's say, a man hits his wife but afterwards says, I love you, though, right? A child who sees that doesn't understand what abuse is, what love is, but they witness this, that's their experience, then it's kind of like, oh, you hit someone and you say you love them after, and that lets them know you love them. Does that make sense? So, what is
Especially
it that
if
we
like
learned when our subconscious was a sponge with no filters? We didn't know what was right. We didn't know what was wrong. We didn't know what was abuse. We didn't know what was love. We were learning from everything external at that moment. And so
right,
that
and
becomes the core base. And so just to answer your question, it is flexible, right? Neuroscience teaches us that, like, our brains like have this neuroplasticity. So a program that's in there, we can change it, but we have to be in awareness and make a conscious choice to take steps towards changing it. But it is distant.
yeah, because I mean, using your example, I mean, if the person who
Sorry about
gets hit,
that.
yeah, but it like the example, if it's the guy hitting the woman and she doesn't do anything to say, hey, that wasn't right, yeah, they're going to learn that's the right thing to do. Where if she
Right.
says,
And
hey,
and
this
it's not
isn't
outside the
right,
norm if they see that in society.
yeah. And so that's, when we look at in our world where, we're like, what are we doing to fit in? And it's like, oh, I'm allowing this person to treat me bad just because I can hang out with these people, or I can, meet these people and I can do this or this. Do you really need that person to treat you bad to get that? And if you do, maybe you need to look at that and say, is that the right thing? Because anything that puts you down to elevate you, I feel like you're taking an extra step that's not in your best favor, because if you can accomplish it by just simply lifting up, you don't need that person putting you down to lift up. If you can lift up without them, I would say do it without them. I mean, I like
Now the
to
thing
live in the
is that
world
it's
where I was going to say, I like to live in the world where we all are supporting and lifting each other up. And I know there are times when, you know, I don't live in the panacea rosy world glasses where everything is always great and fine, but I limit the amount of people who are around me who I feel like they're putting me down to lift themselves up. I'm like, that's not the kind of friend or energy I want around me. So I make a conscious effort of, you know, do I want to interact with that? No, so I don't, and I find other ways to lift up. So
Yeah, and consciously, like I said, we can want something, but if our programming is we don't deserve love, or we don't deserve good friends, or we don't deserve abundance, or money's hard to come by, or nobody would could care about me, and things like that, those come from those core beliefs. So it's not just a matter of wanting it, but it's taking steps to work on those things, right? And so that's why I always say the first step is awareness, because if we don't realize that under our conscious awareness, there's things under the surface that are self sabotaging us, where we're not setting our boundaries, we're not tuning into ourselves, and we're looking outwardly for that love and everything before we give that love to ourselves, if that makes sense, right? Because the more we're in awareness, the more we love ourselves, the more we're in alignment, then when we do come across people, situations, and things like that, our body and energy will tell us it doesn't feel aligned. And so, does that make sense? So it's not just like an overnight thing, but it's like all the things we've been talking about today, from moving the energy, being more in the present moment, doing the things that brings us back to our senses or the creativity that helps to open up the energy, that helps to bring clarity to us, helps increase our awareness, our frequency, and it also attracts those higher vibration opportunities in people. And so as we do that, we begin to get more confidence and that self-worth within ourselves. But it is a process, and as long as people are willing to take the steps, and like I said, it's super simple stuff, but it's just being
Right.
consistent with it. So we begin to switch up any of those old programs that are no longer serving us as we create the new patterns for what we actually want. So it matches what we consciously want, but we're also getting our subconscious in line with that. So in the background, our subconscious is working towards the same goal we want consciously, if that makes sense. And we're matching our vibration and then alignment and being in the present moment as we take those steps forward.
It does, and I can't help but notice too, when I hear like, I'm going to use women as an example in this for this little insight is I hear a lot of women will say, "Man, I live in a man's world. I'm constantly being put down because I'm not a man." And I sit there and I look at him and I'm like, "What world are you in?" Because our military now has women. Our, business, we now have female CEOs. We have, women
There's
in
more women on
government.
the planet right now than men.
But, and it's like, I look at all these examples and I'm like, and I sit there and I think about it and I'm like, well, what is a job that a man does that a woman can't do? And I have to say, there's only one job that comes to mind, and not to get, you know, I don't want to get, in trouble with people over this, but the one job to me that a man does that a woman can't do is create life because you need both
If
pieces
they
to
were attempting
create
it by
that life.
themselves, yes, but you need
Yeah.
both. That's right. You need both people.
Well,
Yep.
even if it's artificial, you still need the man's essence to
You need both
create it.
parts.
Yeah. And
whether it's
so, and
whether it's the people or their things, yeah, you still need both parts
right.
to
And
create.
on the flip side, women can bring life into the world and men can't. And so I'm like, where is there now though that we are living in a man's world? And it's like it confuses me because I'm like, I don't see it. And I know that's because I'm looking at it through the filters of my eyes and saying, seeing the balance that's in the world. Whereas, if you're wanting to find, that, oh, men are ruling everything, I'm sure you can find it. But I'm like, look at the energy that you're exerting to find it instead of living in the world that is.
Well, remember I was talking about the reticular activating system that is all about survival in our brain, right? Well,
Right.
if we always think and feel that we can't get ahead because of whatever XXX or X, and we keep telling ourselves that, then we become to believe that as true. And like I mentioned before, we will begin to see the lower vibration opportunities in people because now we're in that negative low vibration. So whatever we predominantly put out there is what we're going to attract back, majority, like in the majority of what we attract from the universe coming back to us, right? Because the
Right.
universe acts like a mirror. So if we put out predominant low vibration energy and negativity and things like that, we end up with more situations and people and lower vibration opportunities. And so we end up staying sort of stuck in that same cycle. But if we are in that higher vibration, we begin to mirror back that higher vibration and abundance and love and, collaborations and people that are helping us to move in those next steps of what we're wanting to manifest.
Yeah, and I feel like, you get into situations where, like corporate downsizing. You've had this job, it's all you've known, and now you lose the job. And instead of going, well, what's the next best opportunity for me? I see a lot of people are like, well, now that I can't do this, I don't know what to do. And so the universe doesn't bring you anything because you don't even know. But what I noticed the common trend there is they lost their identity to their work. Their work became their identity. And so it's like, when somebody says to me, who are you? I'm like, I'll say my name. And I don't say a job that, is as who I am. They have to like ask me like specifically, what do you do? Because that's not my identifier. And I think, if more
Right.
people in the world stepped back and looked at, and simply, asked themselves, who am I? If your first answer is architect or engineer or teacher or, musician or artist or, in other words, your career, you might want to look at that because that's what you do. That's not who you are. And so if you take a moment and step back and look at that and find out who you are, what you do may turn out to be an even more enjoyable experience than it already is if it is for you, or if it's been crappy, it may get better because you are owning who you are. Or you may, find the courage to say, you know what, I've suffered here enough and I had this great opportunity over there. I'm going to go try that instead and make a change because you are who you are, not what you do. And so
Right.
that's something I
Exactly.
think we need to revisit in our world.
Right. Like a lot of people are self identifying to a certain terminology or a certain title or something like that. But it's more about who we are as a person and being in our own alignment and being in tune with our intuition. And that allows us to feel out and so we can use our logic and intuition and our past experience to be able to discern what opportunities are better for us and things like that, right? Because a lot of times people, you know they they're trying to make a conscious choice about one thing, but they have all these underlying beliefs and value systems that are like outdated for what they actually want to achieve, where they're looking to go. And so it's about becoming more aligned with yourself and getting more in tune with your pardon me, with yourself, right? And so that way everything that you do, the steps you take forward will be more in alignment with you. The more that you increase that vibration, the more that you learn about yourself, the more awareness you have about your own inner, emotional status. Like, so our emotional intelligence, our ability to respond as opposed to react, and just being more in the present moment and being aware when we get triggered on something or we have that negative thought, and then reframe it to something positive. And so instead of practicing the negative thought, we practice the positive thought until it becomes the new automatic subconscious program in there. So when we come up against, an obstacle, instead of it saying, "Oh, you can't do this. Remember what happened last time?" The new program is, "Of course you can do this. Remember how we overcame that last time? Let's do it again." Does that make sense?
It does. And another fear that I think, people may not realize is a fear is they're like, well, I don't like this job, but I'm really close to getting this promotion. And so I'd be stupid to, quit my job and do this because I've worked so hard to get that promotion. And I'm right. And it's like they dangle it like a carrot in front of you. And they're like, I'm going to get it. I'm due, for this. And then every time it doesn't come through, you're like, oh, well, it sucks I didn't get it, but I'm still getting closer to it. I can't quit because I'm so close to it. But in reality, it's like, are you close to it? If you've already been passed over once or twice for it, I don't know how often these opportunities come up for promotions in companies, but it's like you might want to step back and go, am I afraid to do something else? And that's why I keep going for this carrot that they dangle in front of me? Or, you know, what is keeping you there? Because your own worth also needs to raise with your vibration, because you can be high vibe and laughing and everything, but if your own view of your self-worth isn't raising with it, you're going to be in conflict all the time, and the universe is going to look at you and be like, we love your, this high vibe energy you're giving off, but we're confused why you're not believing in the high vibe that you're giving off.
Well, it's the same as anything else, right? People can be performative or they can actually be in alignment, right? Completely two different things. So it's about aligning our conscious and our subconscious with that alignment, right? So wanting something, we still have to do that inner work and take those steps towards switching that up, right?
Right.
So if so in awareness, we can be in awareness of what common phrases that come up in their mind that are negative when they're about to do something or they're about to step up for something. What are those common phrases that are negative that they're telling themselves? Write them out. And then beside that, write out a new sentence that's positive. So if that thought comes up again, you reframe it and say your new sentence. And again, it's like going to the gym, right? If you just go once in a blue moon, you're not going to build too much muscle. But if you're going on a regular basis, you do those reps, right? And you start building that, and it becomes natural for the person to be able to do it. You have the muscle memory. Even if you didn't work out for a few weeks, you go back to it, your muscles remember that, right? So it's easier to get back into it. And it's the same in life, anything that we do. If once we're doing enough reps of this new pattern of behavior, thoughts, or emotions, we do enough reps and that becomes the new automatic pattern of behavior that the subconscious is going to be running on, because 95%, like I said, is emotions, thoughts, and behavior. So only about 5% of our thought processes is actually conscious. The other 95% is running on autopilot. So when we begin to do these things and rewrite those old patterns of behavior in our mind through repetition, right? Then in the background, the autopilot 95% becomes the new program. So this way, if consciously we're wanting to create abundance and we've reroute the program in our mind, instead of it being, oh, money's hard to come by, we rewrote that program that money comes to me easily in my business. Two different frequencies. And one creates that abundance in our life, and the other one keeps us stagnant and stuck in the old pattern of what we believe. If that makes
It does. And I'm just bringing these up as like awarenesses for people who may be watching and going, oh, yeah, that's not me. that's not me, and going, oh wait, that is me, and be like, yeah, it's a little subtlety. We don't always see what we're projecting out, and so we tell ourselves one story, and the story that we're putting
It's
out is
because it's
another.
these
You there? I think her
Oh,
phone
yep,
cut
yep.
out
Sorry,
again.
I thought I dropped off again. That's what I thought too. Yeah, and it's just these unconscious programs play thought and emotional loops, right, in our mind. And so if we believe that money's hard to come by, it doesn't matter what strategy we put out or anything. Like, we will default to the old patterns. So we'll self sabotage ourselves. There's an opportunity that we know, hey, we should take it consciously, but subconscious, we're afraid of the success, or we don't feel worthy, or we're not confident in ourselves. And so it's like we'll come up with reasons why we didn't take the opportunity, or oh, something came up at home and so I couldn't focus on the promotion, I had to take care of my family. And so we end up, without realizing, self-sabotage because of those old programs. So we can consciously believe we want something, but if the subconscious program is the opposite, then we go back and forth from the subconscious to the conscious, where, like, I call it the ping pong effect, where we say to ourselves, we believe that we can do this, and then our subconscious goes, are you kidding me? Who do you think you are that we could have this? You know, money's hard to come by. See what I mean? So
Right.
so once we begin to program those new thoughts, those new emotions, we begin to regulate our nervous system. We begin to change those subconscious programs. So our subconscious on autopilot is working with our conscious desires of what we want to manifest. And when that's in sync and alignment, and we coordinate our brain and heart coherence in the present moment, elevating our frequency, and we're consistent in these steps, then little by little, we actually will begin to manifest those things in our lives, because we're doing the reps, we're doing the steps, and it brings that awareness, it brings that higher consciousness level, it brings that clarity, it increases our intuition, it allows us to be responsive in life, not reactive, and it allows us the opportunity to notice those patterns of behavior, whether it's an emotional thing or whether it's a thought pattern of negativity. And so the more we're aware, we notice those thoughts come up, we can reframe it, and then we just have to be consistent and just do it every time we notice, reframe it, and you will automatically begin to be reprogramming your subconscious mind to elevate
Exactly.
your energy, your mindset, and getting your subconscious to get in line with what you consciously want. And so it's that internal alignment. Like I always say, it's the more you get to know yourself, because like a lot of times our body will give us signals, right? Our intuition will speak to us. But if we are not in tune with ourselves, then we might pass it off as nothing or not even notice it. The more we're in the present moment, the more we have that clarity and intuition, and we begin to pick up those opportunities, those synchronicities, and be able to get those internal messages that help guide us on our path while we're switching up those programs and elevating our frequency to match that which we want to manifest, and that version of ourselves that we're creating, right? That we're moving towards. But always do it like you're already in that vibration, you're already that, increased version, like that elevated version of yourself. Because when we're in gratitude of what's already happened, that is the frequency we're putting out, that we already have it. And so the universe, if we're consistent, will mirror back what you are already in gratitude for, already have received. Does that make sense?
It is, and it does. And, you know,
If we keep telling the universe, I'll have it one day or I'll get it one day, the universe goes, okay, you're right. I'm going to mirror back what you just said to me. You'll get it one day. Yeah. But if we're sending out the frequency of I've already received it, I'm in such gratitude, and I keep on scaling and elevating and expanding and opening that quantum space to hold even more abundance, to hold even more love, to hold more, connected relationships, right? The more we can be in the relationship with ourselves and have that connection with other people, be in the present moment, you naturally will have the deeper connection with everyone around you, because it creates that awareness. And so we're in an elevated state like that. And so, does that make sense?
It does. And as we're talking about this, it reminds me, of something I've seen in your bio. And so I'm not sure if you are still a part of it or not, but it's something that, I feel like this is a good transitional spot to bring it up if you are. And that is being a founding member of the Sheconomy.
Yeah, actually, that is a current thing. It's with She Rises Studios. I do a lot of publications with them, with books, magazines, and things like that. And they created a movement and they call it Sheconomy, and it's essentially helping to elevate women economically in the world, like as leaders and entrepreneurs and things like that, to help create that visibility and an ecosystem to help women to rise in spaces that are really important, like all the things that we're talking about today, right? And so I'm really proud to be a part of that. And we have a lot of things on the go with that. So for anyone who's interested, if you've got my website link there, I'm going to be updating with all the information for that as well. And so anyone who wants to, participate, that we've got different summits and conferences coming up, a lot of good information for female entrepreneurs looking to expand their visibility, whether it's through publishing, whether it's through, being a speaker in summits, conferences. But essentially, it's helping women and the ecosystem for women to help, create that visibility and create that, generational change to, kind of balance out things in the way like you were talking about before, right? It's not men versus women. It's just being a part of a movement that's specifically helping women who didn't have a voice, and to be able to create their visibility for these important messages and impact that they can create.
Yes, and you didn't give me a website, so what is the website so people can go look at it?
The website is the word high, HIGH, and then AF, A as in apple, F as in Frank, and the word advantage.com. So it's highafadvantage.com. And I'm going to be updating that this week, but you'll be able to find lots of information on me and things like that on the website. All my profile links will be on there, probably on most of the pages on my website. So,
So I have it up on the screen for people to be able to go to and see.
Sorry about that. I just switched
to
a new phone last night, and I'm technically like, I have things coming on both the phones, and I don't know how to make it not do that. So I apologize. But yeah, like anybody who has any questions or wants more information on the Sheconomy or on my books out for sale, a lot of what I talk about, what I teach, my solo book, which is called High AF Advantage, Your Quantum Core Blueprint to Success. And that goes for all different things between your intuition, reprogram the subconscious mind, how to balance and be in alignment to work towards your manifestations, and how to write out your manifestations, and all sorts of things. So if anybody's interested in what we've been talking about, they can just check on Amazon, and it's just called High AF Advantage by Nikki Girard. It'll pop up. And we can
Very
also, anyone who goes to my website, like I said, I'll be updating it this week, and I'll make sure all of that is on there. But anyone wants to reach out to me on my profile, DM me, and I will send you a link directly to the Amazon if anyone wants to purchase that as well.
Very cool. And so I'm kind of curious because I don't even think we addressed this on the last program you were on, but I'm curious as one author to another, what was your inspiration to writing this book, and what was your aha moment to say, this is something I can write about and something that I think the world needs?
Well, it all comes down to everything I've done. I've spent over 40 years in understanding quantum physics, human behavior, understanding the brain, our nervous system, and everything, and how all of these things connect. And each aspect that I went down, it just led me to go deeper and deeper. And I realized that regardless of what situation anybody is in, regardless of what outwardly situation people are dealing with, it all comes down to the core of who we are. So if we understand a little bit about how our brain works and our mind works, how the connection between our heart and brain, and learning how to be in that higher vibration and alignment. And anyone, no matter who they are, I realized that it didn't matter what level people are at. These are the core fundamentals that people require to understand about themselves to be able to fully move forward. And so I decided, well, if no one wants to write a book about all these deep understandings about people and themselves, then I'm going to do it. And so that's why I call it the quantum core blueprint to success, because it's going to the quantum core of who you are and aligning from the inside out. And when we have that alignment within ourselves, we have that conscious awareness, and we raise our vibration, we start reprogramming everything, we start working all the different systems in our body so we can, realign our nervous system to feel safe holding abundance, to feel safe having love, to feel safe stepping forward. And so it's the internal systems that I'm focused on, because every human on the planet has these same systems. And those systems work the same for everyone. It's just which filter are we looking through? What experiences have we had? But if we go to the core, it's the same for everyone. And so I decided to create the Quantum Core Blueprint to Success. So everyone's got the core fundamentals and tools to be able to get to know themselves and be able to move forward in that abundance in their life, regardless whether it's monetarily, like financial abundance, love, or just being able to have that self-worth and self-confidence and just move through and have those, better connections in life.
Very cool. And I love it how you put it, because it's something so simple but yet relatable for everyone. And I say simple in the regards of it all is based on, like you're saying, your filter. So if you want to make it difficult, I'm sure you can, and it will be. But
And it's not that
if
we
you're,
mean to make it difficult.
well, I think
Right?
some
It
people
depends on our
do.
filters.
Well, I think some
But they may
people
not
do
be aware they're
because,
doing it. Right. Remember, if it's out of our conscious awareness, then we don't realize that we're kind of stepping in our own way. Right? That's what, when we talk about self-sabotage and things, we may not always be consciously aware of it, although someone observing might realize what the problem is, but the person themselves may not, because of their experience and the filters of how their belief systems are based on their programming, right?
Right. Well, and
But
some
that's
people
why I
are
said, like,
consciously
with my solo book, that's why I go through the different aspects.
right. And where I was pointing at it is, people have the system that they put in of if I don't have to work hard for it, then it has no value. And so that's where I was saying, they'll make it difficult because that's their program. And so, and there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that program. If that's the program you want to run it. We're not telling you not to. We're just pointing out options. And so if you like having that program that, things that are hard have more value, go with it. And if you have a program that says, hey, if I don't have to do a lick of work to do this and I'll succeed, go with that program. You go with what you feel is the right program for you. And just remember as you're going, you chose this program and people around you may not understand it. And so you are a choice to going, yes, I'm going to keep this program going, or you know what, maybe they were right and let's try that program for a while.
And the thing is like I said, right? Awareness is more than 50% of the solution. So when we get to know ourselves more, it brings that awareness. And so we can begin to pick up those negative patterns or those negative programs and then make a conscious choice to take those steps, right?
Right.
Because we have to have the conscious awareness of it first. And that's why I said, like, even in my solo book, right? Like, it goes through different aspects to help people to be in awareness and recognize. And it also goes through different programs, like, or exercises. Like, for the intuition, each chapter will go through a different topic and go deep into it. And then there's exercises to help you tune in to those particular aspects for that chapter. So to help you tune into your intuition more, help you tune into your vibration more, help you with ways to be able to recognize, be an awareness of those patterns, as well as description of exactly how to switch it up to what it is you do want, right? So that's why I'm saying, even if you don't know what you don't know, you can get the book and you can read through, and it'll help you step by step to begin to recognize those things within yourself and what steps to take and what exercise.
Right. And so, yeah. And so that's exactly right. And
My
I have,
apologies. And yeah, so
so yeah. And
sorry, go
so
ahead.
I was going to say, and so I know from a friend of mine who does moderating, she has informed me, like, I, as the host, can put links to stuff. And so as I was showing the link for your book and showing the link to your website, I have added those into the chat room so people will have them. And I've noticed when it comes to the chat room, I've been informed that the chat room is not, I always thought it was just during the live show. And then once the live show is over, it's over and the chat disappears. And she has informed me that nope, it stays with the program or with the episode. So these links should be visible anytime anyone's watching. So
Okay.
do, support, her if this is something that resonates with you. If you don't think it resonates with you, that's fine. Find something that does. But I only ask that
The most
in the
important
world we
thing,
live in, if
I was just
something
going to say, the
doesn't
most important
resonate
thing,
with you, don't attack it. Just walk away from it and find something that does, because it's not, we're not saying it's for everyone, but be kind and be respectful. Okay, so, and you wanted to add,
it's just
Nikki?
like how, different people have different tastes in music. Well, different things that help us to feel in that elevated state and what resonates is very individual to people. And so, yeah, if it resonates, great. If not, that's okay. Find something that resonates with you to help you be more in tune with yourself and your internal systems. And as you balance that out, you'll find that your outer world, like the reality in which we kind of see as we move through life, will begin to improve as well. So it's not about which modality or which thing you do, but it's about aligning with yourself. So whatever resonates with you that helps you to align and get to know more and be more in tune with yourself in the present moment and taking steps in that higher vibration. That's the most important thing.
Right. And so, is there anything that you'd like to add or state that, you feel like we kind of missed an opportunity talking about?
No, I think we covered a lot of things today. We don't want to overload everybody with all the information, but I think the through line though is like what I was just saying, right? It's really about getting to know yourself and what resonates with you and just learning to be able to, you know, be more in awareness of those thought patterns and things like that. So whatever it is you do, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's meditation, whether it's listening to music, whether it's art, whatever helps you to be in that higher vibration and just begin to get to know yourself more, whichever modality you use.
Very cool. And so, in the spirit of the episode of stating, keeping everything in high vibe and high energy vibration, I have a last question for you. What does a ghost and a cow have in common? I'm not. Did you hear?
Oh, no, I didn't. Can you repeat it for me?
I said, in the spirit of keeping high vibe and high energy, I had a question for you of what does a cow and a ghost have in common?
A cow and a ghost. Black and white.
Booyah and mooyah. You can't have the booyah without the ghost, and you can't have the mooyah without the cow.
That is too funny. I was thinking, like, how when people think of an image of a cow, we usually think of like black and white spots, right? And
Right?
I'm thinking a ghost, a lot of people think of like a white ghost. And then you think of like, when would the ghost be out? At nighttime in the dark. So I thought black and white.
Yeah. No, you're right, but
But your
yeah.
Muya to the Booyah is much funnier. I think that you ended it on a very high vibe and it makes more sense and it is funnier.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, I ran out of my drink here. I was drinking some water, but I ran out.
that's all right. We're getting ready to wrap it up,
Well,
and
I hope that we can continue the conversation and bring up some more topics on another episode. I would love to come back, and I hope your audience really enjoyed our conversation today. And again, people can, message or DM me, check out my profile, my website. Have any questions? I'm, my DMs are always open. Feel free to ask any questions or reach out.
Jason Finch says, "Have a good evening," and earlier said, "Fantastic show." So there you go. So,
well, thank you again. It's been an honor to be on the show, and I'm really glad for the opportunity. to be able to help bring this information and bring more awareness to the audience. And like I said, if it resonates, that's beautiful. If it doesn't, that's okay. Find something that helps you be in more balance within yourself.
Yes, and so before we close the show, I do have a message for you, and that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, heard, and felt. So thank you.
And again, I thank you because you're helping to spread the message and high vibrations and booyah to the mooyah.
I was totally waiting for that moment. So,
well, we got to end it there because we're laughing. So we'll leave everybody with that high vibe.
No better way to end it. And so thank you to everyone
Thank you so
who's
much.
watching.
I really do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to everyone in the chat room. And thank you to our amazing guest. And subscribe to both of my shows because you never know when Nikki's going to be popping up and sharing more information with us and some good high vibrational laughter. And so as I get ready to play the outro, I think we had a good thing going of the ending on the booyah to the mooyah.
I will add one more thing. It's my tagline. I always remind people, I always say, remember to smile. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference anyway. So when you smile, it'll increase your vibration. So smile. Remember to smile. I'll leave you with that.
Well said, and good night, everyone.